Hi, this is Carl Swenson. I'm a course mentor for diversity and inclusion. I want to take a few minutes to talk with you about APA style and formatting. Um, our task number 2 in FDAT oftentimes is return for revisions because of difficulties with APA style and formatting. So what I've done is I've chosen a number of items which seem to be the most common causes of a paper being returned for revision, and we're going to talk about those particular areas. So we'll start off with probably the simplest of all, and that is marking your references as either primary or secondary, and then what culture they apply to. As you see on the page here, I have a number of references listed. This would be the start of the reference page, so let's go ahead and add that to it so that we know what we have. We'll just put that there, and then we'll block it, and then we'll move it to the center of the page. Now, obviously, it's our reference page. So you see here that some of these are already marked as to what they are. So what we're going to do here at the end of this one, since we don't have anything, I'm going to use a bracket. And then this was a primary source, and it relates to the Mexican-American culture, and then we'll close it with a bracket. That's all that's required in this case. If you want to, you can offset that with a different color to make it appear more readily appear to your evaluators. But that's not absolutely necessary. Some of you will be using the WGU library as a local library. I want to show you how to cite that so that the evaluators can readily see that you've obtained this from the WGU library. This particular book, American Karma, Race, Culture, and Identity in the Indian Diaspora, was actually retrieved from the WGU library's eBrary. So you see that what I've done here, after the normal citation, I've added retrieve from the WGU library, and then added the URL that was provided for me when I retrieved the book. So by putting this in here, retrieve from the WGU library, the evaluators will be aware that you've drawn this from the WGU library as your local library. The next thing that we want to talk about is alphabetizing the list. All references on the reference page should be in alphabetical order by author's last name. And so I've got a couple of problems in here. This particular Batia's book, obviously Batia comes before many of these others, so all we're going to do here is just simply cut and paste, and that will come here between Bermudez and the Centers for Disease Control. So if I paste that right in there, then you see what happens is that it goes ahead and spaces like it's supposed to. The same with facts about India. That one is in the wrong spot, so we will cut and paste. And now we are in alphabetical order. It brings us to a good point here about authors' last names. On this particular website, factsaboutindia.org, we found this good informational page on Indian religions. But there was no author listed for this. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to take the first 2 or 3 words of the website, Facts About India in this case, and we're going to use that as our author. Now you see we list that out here, Facts About India, but it's in italics. And by placing that in italics, we're telling the reader that we did not know the name of the author, so we are substituting these words for that. This is something that you want to do. You don't want to use unknown as an author because that can be very confusing. So we're going to do this instead. The next thing we want to talk about is capitalization. And we're talking specifically here about about titles and subtitles of articles and books that we find. So the rule in APA style and formatting is that the first word of a title and a subtitle are capitalized, as are proper nouns. And those are the only words that are capitalized in a title. For instance, we have this title here, Describing Latino Families and Their Help-Seeking Attitudes, Changing the Family Therapy Literature. You see that we've capitalized describing, which is the first word of the title, challenging, which is the first word of the subtitle, and Latino, which is a proper noun. So that one is correct. This book title, American Karma, Race, Culture, and Identity in the Indian Diaspora, is incorrect. So we have to make some changes here. Karma is not a proper noun, so we'll make that a small k. Race is correct because it's the first word of the subtitle. Culture will become a small c. Identity will become a small I. Indian is a proper noun, so it'll stay the way it is. And diaspora will be a small letter D. So that's how we correct for spelling. This is a website, so it this rule does not apply in this particular case. So let's continue down here. And Indian religion, again, that's a website, so it's not going to apply. This is a book, the Figueredo book, but you see that it's correct as it's listed. And Double Life of Rajat Gupta, that's also correct, so we're okay with our capitalization. The next rule that we need to talk about is the use of first initials and middle initials rather than first names. This has to do with bias, and according to the Publication Manual for APA, it's called a gender bias. So what we want to do is we want to remove all first names and titles. So we're going to take away the first name and leave only the first initial in this particular name. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The name of the organization is the author, so we're going to leave that as it is. We've already talked about this one. We see that Figueredo has first initial and middle initial, and this multi-author book is also correct at this point. So we've gotten rid of all the first names, all middle names. There are no titles. And when I'm talking about titles, I'm talking about MD or PhD or something like that. We want to make sure that they are not included. Okay, that brings us to the hanging indent, which is a particular style that APA uses. And in the hanging indent, the first line of the reference stretches from margin to margin, while the second and subsequent lines are indented. So the first thing that we're going to do here in order to do this, I'm going to show you a very easy way to do this. The first thing I want to do is I want to hit the paragraph sign up here, and what that tells, what that shows us is everywhere that we've made a hard carriage return, or that we've hit the enter key. And what that does, hitting the enter key, gives us first lines in each of these, almost as if they were paragraphs. So the next thing to do is to highlight all of our references like so. And then we'll go up here, and it's kind of difficult to see, so let me move this a little bit. There we go. You notice that we have this ruler across the top, and also these two pointers, one on the top and one on the bottom. If we move them to the ½ inch, like so, all of our lines are going to indent. But if we take the top half and move it back over to here, then our first lines are going to go to the margin, and the rest of the lines will be indented. And then we simply click off the block, and there are your all of your sources are set up with a hanging indent. That's all I have for you. I trust that this made sense for you, and I hope that you're able to make your APA style and formatting work. Thanks very much for your time. Bye.